creativity is what we are and who we are. And unless we have the space within and allow ourselves that, we cannot access it. We cannot access it from a state of stress. Getting up in the morning, and before you do anything, get out of the bed, I used to have it there beside me, just started sort of unconscious writing. So it's a way of write whatever, but it will start to reveal to you what's really going on in your subconscious. The world we live in sort of encourages us almost to be a little bit powerless. So, let us blame ourselves. We're sort of conditioned to do that, to always hand over our power to the doctor. It used to be the priest, to the teacher, to this, to that. And I don't believe we're designed to live like that. And that is the journey of life, is to remember
I think
recover your power. And the more people that talk on, this isn't just sort of a power over people. This is an inner power and your creative power.
Powerful.
Yes,
being powerful. Just a little taster of what is coming up on the show. But first, please do like this video and subscribe to the channel. And also tell your friends and family about this podcast. Please let us know in the comments if you would like to hear any particular topic in relation to sleep or health. And I will create a show especially for you, just for asking the question. So let's get on with the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Empowering Family Health podcast. You know, I love this show. I love speaking to the guests that come on every time we do an interview or a conversation, I like to call it. And, you know, such powerful women sharing their story, sharing their lessons that they've learned through life. And I have another amazing guest on this episode, and it's Celine O'Donovan. And let me tell you a little bit about Celine. Celine is an author, a life coach, a Reiki Master, and a podcaster of Wild Woman. And she comes from the west of Ireland in Galway. Celine experienced a life-altering event with breast cancer that turned her life upside down. And we're going to hear how Celine turned this devastating time into triumph, which actually led to the work that she does today, helping to empower people to live their best lives and to step into their power. So today we're going to talk all about how you can turn your pain into purpose. And Celine believes that life is always happening for us, and we really do have so much power than we realise. Celine, you're very welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Joanne. Thank you so much. Delighted to be here. What a lovely introduction.
Brilliant. Well,
is that me?
No, it's weird, isn't it? You know, when you're listening back, you know, and it's like,
I know.
But you know, we've had a lot, and you know, life experiences and what have you, and you've achieved an awful lot, Celine. And you know, you could say unfortunately or fortunately, when we go through experiences in life, it shapes us for who we are today and the work that we're doing today. You know, and I think not everybody is able for it, and you know, some people are kind of handpicked, I think, by the universe, but we go out there and we help others, and that's what this is all about, and to lead and cheer other people on and help people realize their potential, you know. And I really believe that's my work, and it's your work as well. So I think this is why we were attracted to each other as well, but also we're part of the 262 Women's Project as well. We talk a little bit about that. But Celine, before we dive in, the first question I always ask is, why this work that you're doing right now? Can you give us a backstory that led you to where you are today?
Oh, I can. I could start at a very young age, but I suppose I'll say a pivotal moment really was in 2016 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I mean, I could go way back and talk a lot. I had other challenges before breast cancer. My marriage broke down. I suffered with alcohol abuse as a way to cover that up. As a child, I felt very psychic and sensitive, and I think I shut that down. I didn't feel safe to be myself. And I would say, when someone said, if you looked at my family, you would think, well, why didn't she feel safe? She had two lovely parents. And I did, but the reality is, like many Irish families, there wasn't a lot of emotional, let's say, connection and availability and permission to feel what I needed to feel as a child. And that's been a huge journey for me. I think it's one of the most powerful things that has shifted. So all of these, I suppose, things were happening, and I threw myself into work and I threw myself into distraction. This is after my marriage broke up in 2002. And that was quite challenging because my husband was gay. And I talk a little bit about that now. There's so many different stories that I don't, we all have stories. So I don't want to get into each, but the point I suppose I want to make is there was a lot of build up of probably suppression as to what I would feel in my life leading up to, but on the outside, like most of us, I put a mask on, I got on with it, I worked, and I kept going as best I could. I dealt with the alcohol issue back in 2009. I got help, and that was just pure emotional pain. And I have deep compassion for anyone, whatever it is you turn to, because all it was that. It was nothing else. Not saying all it was, but it was just, it's the same as if, I had times when I felt suicidal. I had times when I wished my life was over. Never, I would say brave enough. I don't even know if that's the right word, but it was all back to deep emotional pain and not acknowledging and being who I am and came here to be. And that was part of my journey. I think that is the journey of life. It's life and dark. It's up and down. We have to experience all of it to grow and become who we came here to be. It's not like I did anything wrong. It's not like anyone else in my life did anything wrong, or my parents. I firmly believe we signed up for this, and this is the path and the journey I chose, and it's made me who I am today. But 2016, I suppose, was a key pivotal moment because suddenly I hit a wall. Well, I hit a wall the year before in a car accident, if that wasn't a warning sign. So I literally hit a wall, and I knew I was burnt out from work, traveling. I had loved my job for years. For a number of years, I worked in the university in Galway in marketing, and I was out on the roads, highways and byways of Ireland, into every school, talking about going to university. Loved young people, still do. I forget that sometimes because I don't have children, but I loved it. I loved that sense of empowering them and helping them make decisions for their life. But it was reaching a point where that began to feel very limited because it was only about going to university. And I was meeting a lot of young people who were feeling really stressed by the system, really stressed, maybe feeling they should make a decision that they didn't feel was right for them because of, I'll get a job, or my parents will pay for that course, because if I do business, I'll get a job, but I'd really love to do something else. So I'm not saying it's all wrong, but I was just witnessing this, and I found myself talking to students more holistically. And so there was all of that going on. That was reaching the end of its path. That there was a lot of things about that job, but ultimately I ended up with a diagnosis with breast cancer in February 2016, and I knew something was coming. The car accident had been a sign. It was a wake-up call. I think we can all relate to the idea of wake-up calls in our life in some shape or form. And so that was when I suppose everything stopped. I had been running 1,000 miles an hour for I don't know how many years. And
that's a big build up. Like a lot went on there, and with the alcohol abuse as well. I really get what you said there, because my father was an alcoholic, and I mean, we devastating times there, but it was years ago. My father, even with all the the alcohol abuse and what have you, he was actually a lovely man. You really like his essence of who he was. He was a lovely, gentle soul. It would be very rare and hard to find somebody like my father. He used to hate gossiping and never understood why people argued and stood down at the, like us women stand at the pillar talking to each other and we're gossiping, right? And he could never understand it. But I learned to forgive my father, because what I got was, it was a disease. And the reason why he had that disease was because he couldn't cope with X, Y, and Z or whatever, So I really get that. And that's something that we're experiencing in the world at the moment quite a lot. And you kept yourself busy, you kept yourself distracted, as you said, as well, to suppress the deep emotional pain, you said. And then you were in the college and you could see the young kids, the young adults, it was like it was very conditional. What path they chose next, it was very conditional, if they had to do this, if they needed to get money or their parents to pay for it or whatever. So I love that you said you spoke to them holistically, because there's not very many people who would do that where our youth of today. And so there's all that, and then your marriage and everything. So there was so much of a build up, Celine.
I know.
So what happened then when that diagnosis came on that day?
Well, it was sort of interesting because I had arranged to meet someone for lunch. I had found the lump and I had sort of pushed it aside, but I probably deep down knew. But again, I didn't really want to face it. So I kept going and I met someone and they were saying, God, you should go to the doctor. And anyways, between everything, I ended up making an appointment with the GP, referred up to breast check, got the news. I mean, shock, but I say this to people, once I got over the initial shock, now I had a lot of long curly hair. So that was the first thing I said was, am I going to lose my hair? Because it was the only thing I could relate to.
Yeah.
But to be honest, very quickly, I started to feel relief. The most overwhelming feeling was, I can stop. I can stop. And
Yeah.
nobody wants anything of me. And I can just stop. And I literally, it was the greatest gift. And I know I had to go through it to be able to say that. But like many of the challenges, and I've heard you speak as well, Joanne, on my podcast, and many other women and people, men and women I meet, obviously you have to go through what you go through, but coming out the other side, how has it changed you? How do you view it? How do you learn and grow from it? To be honest, it was a very difficult, I find it hard even to sometimes go back and say it was very difficult because there's been so many gifts since then. I really feel like I was almost born again as a new person,
Wow.
I just shed so many parts of me that were no longer me. I let go of a lot of beliefs and just so much, and I healed a lot. It's been a long journey. I'm still on it, and it's 8-9 years later. But it's sort of an unfolding journey. But the relief, I would say, was number one.
Yeah, because you got that diagnosis, you got that acknowledgement of what it was. It was no more
Exactly.
like, I wonder, because...
And life made sense. I think that was what really struck home, was because I thought there must be something wrong with me. Here I was going through life and I found it very painful. Now I'm quite sensitive and I had shut that down. I am a very sensitive person, but I had sort of forgotten that because I had sort of numbed myself. So I deeply felt everything all of my life, but I never appeared in that way. I always kept up quite a reserve and I'm fine and everything's fine and I'm a survivor. Yeah. So I suppose, what was like, I can't remember now what I was going to say there on that.
Celine, that you were the kind of person who, because from your story, it sounds to me like you cared about everybody else and maybe forgot to care enough about yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, breast cancer would very much typically be around nurturing. So it was a real lesson in self-nurturing, I suppose, and the balance of, I got it on the right-hand side, which is very much the yang, the male energy, the doing, the survival. Yeah. So it's been a big lesson in bringing me back into the feminine and the more intuitive and the more softer side, because all of us, I think the key is we have to come into a state of balance with, yes, we need to do in the world, but we also need to be able to sort of sit back and listen and be intuitive and understand and take rest. And, so that's been the journey. But I think it came from a lack of safety. This is what I'm realizing, a sense of safety. I can't say I was physically unsafe, but I felt emotionally unsafe to be myself. Yeah. So, yeah.
I want to zone in a little bit on the ability to rest is the body's key to healing. Do you struggle with getting asleep at nighttime or staying asleep during the night and waking up the next morning feeling absolutely exhausted? My book, How to Get a Good Night's Sleep, is easy to understand. It's solution-based and it's packed with research to help you take back control of your night's sleep. My book is available on Amazon and it's also available on howtogetagoodnightsleep.com. This book is also available in audio and ebook. So get your copy today and start having the best night's sleep that you've only ever dreamed of. And nurturing ourselves and self-care, self-love, because I think for many, many women can relate to this, because as women over the centuries, and a lot of shifting in the world right now, with the energies of the world and what's going on and everything, there's an awful lot changing very rapidly. And there's a new sense of woman being, evolving, I think, in this world at the moment. And there's an awful lot being recognised now that wasn't recognised before. But women in the past, and this is over generations, there was an expectation from family, from society, from the world, of how women should be, be at home, taking care of the kids, and we were very good at that, and we are very good at that, and we're very nurturing by nature. But we were very, that was kind of limited there. And I think the ironic part is we were actually natural born leaders. We were already leaders in the house, managing the kids. And there was no harder job than that, I believe. But here's where the thing is that's starting to change now, is that women are being encouraged to look after themselves first. That put on your oxygen mask. We've heard that many times.
Absolutely.
What I know you're working with clients now, you're a life coach and you're working an awful lot with women, and I don't know if you work with men as well, but are you seeing that, Celine? What were you seeing in respect to women not caring for themselves? Are you seeing that much? I presume you are.
I mean, most of my work really revolves around my podcast, my writing. I haven't been I pulled back a bit from that sort of work because I also have a role here at home as a carer. But both in my day-to-day life with women I'm meeting, well, there's definitely with the women I'm coming across and have been sort of meeting in the last few years are on a similar sort of journey. There's definitely a much greater awareness of self-care. Now, I wrote a book on the topic after my experience with cancer.
What's the name of your book?
It's Gifts from the Devastation. That's the book.
Oh, beautiful.
But there's a section at the back. It's just interesting. I haven't looked at it because I wrote it about 2017. And it's called Inside Out Living. And it was sort of the conclusion I was coming to in my own life, that everything I had been searching outside for, was not it wasn't sustaining me, and it wasn't making me feel happy or fulfilled. So I was getting temporary, I'd work really hard, and then I'd buy myself something, or I'd go on a holiday.
Short-lived.
Yeah, very short-lived. And cancer really brought me back into this really still space because I had to stop. I had to stop for about 9 months. My brain wasn't working remotely with all of the treatment, which was a godsend. Yeah. My body wasn't working. So I literally had to stop. And
reset.
Yeah. But what came in, this is the key, I found it, and I learned this now even, it's quite easy to recharge. We have great capacity to recharge even a short period of time. So I will often just take a few moments and just stop and breathe, or do a little meditation, or I'll stand out on the grass. I might breathe in some natural oils. I might say a little affirmation. I might say a prayer. Like, they're all small things. I think there's lots that we all will have different practices that work for us. I have done and trained and gone to every type of therapist under the sun, and I'll continue to do it because I'm always learning. Yeah. So I'm seeing more women. Just to give an example, I was at a beautiful day yesterday for carers, family carers, and it was a holistic day to support the carers. And I met the most amazing women who are working to help other women in caring for themselves. And then women taking a day out to actually many of them are saying, I haven't done this in years.
There you go.
But they're realizing they cannot continue to work as carers if they are burnt out. Yeah. So I heard so many stories, and it was just wonderful to hear that message reaffirmed all throughout the day. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
That is about the oxygen mask is sometimes you have to get to the stage of burnout before you realize that.
Yeah, and look, like you had the car, the brick wall that you said, we do have those things that and if we don't listen, well, something else more, strong that's literally going to stop us, if we don't listen. And it's real, we have to stop and reflect, and because we're just going, and there is science behind it. I talk about this when I talk about sleep and rest, we're never designed to go all day long, but yes, I have people's clients and they're like, oh, whoever invented sleep, like, they go mad. They don't respect sleep. They don't, like, oh God, if I didn't have to sleep now, I'd get so much more done. Like, why do I have to sleep?
Yeah.
I actually have clients who say that, and it's like,
God. But when you experience, I have to say, the difference I've noticed when I experience a good night's sleep, or I've had a good rest, my God, what it's taught me is, rather than this burn taking ages and this mental energy to get something done, I get the inspiration to go, okay, this is what you need to do, and it's done in 2 seconds. Yeah. So you actually end up having to do less. What I found is and you become so focused, or you come in this flow state. I'm really interested in this. I go into that more flow, and the day, generally, not always, but it comes from a good night's sleep, and it comes from that space. where you can decipher what's important, what's not important. Sometimes we're doing things we don't need to be doing at all.
Oh, there's
And that's a big thing I've learned. There was a lot of doing, and the world hasn't collapsed since I stopped doing them. And I learned it very much from my job. I thought the university would fall down if I took a day off. I went out sick for 9-10 months, and everything continued on fine. So
it's
a lesson, it's a lesson in just.
And it's true because, when you're well rested, what you said about, you had more inspirations, and that's because the creative mind is more, we've more access to that part of the brain, the creative mind. And the science says that, the emotional part of the brain is more amplified, and that's why we're easily triggered when we've loss of sleep, when we're sleep deprived. Somebody says something wrong to you, and immediately you're triggered and moody. And I know there's hormones and all involved in that as well, but there's so many reasons why we need to rest and sleep well. And I always say, a powerful woman is a well-rested woman as well, and everything is better with better sleep. I have all these little quotes, but it's so true. But it's been able to be okay with stopping, and then you are more in control of your life. And I think that's what we need right now, is that sense of being in control ourselves, being empowered, rather than feeling that we have to be a certain way based on external circumstances or people outside of us or what people think of us. And women in particular have that quite an awful lot, that comparison and people judging us and what have you. And imagine like a night of well-rested sleep can help you really be centered and stand in your power and to have that bounce off you. Like, it is really true.
Yeah. Oh, I felt it because I know the experience of burnout. And even now I have to still be very careful. And on the days I don't get the rest, and on the days I don't overschedule myself, I can just sort of move through quite easily. I have just such clarity, and I can deal with if something goes wrong. That's the thing I was talking to a friend about recently. If something happens and you haven't had a good night's sleep, my God, I can feel like it's the end of the world. Whereas when I'm rested, I go, I'm grounded, I can deal with it. So that whole sense of balance, I was totally out of balance in my life for many years. And I was told that by someone I went to afterwards, a kinesiologist who looks at your adrenal glands. And he said, you've been years literally burning the tire rubber. It's going to take time, and it doesn't. So that's the thing I think we have to be very careful about. By letting yourself get to that place, there's quite a bit of time that it takes to recover. And it's not, and don't say that out of any sort of, trying to make someone feel, worried about that, but it is the truth.
I think that's really important, what you said. Talk to us a little bit more about that, because, as human beings, we're very impatient.
Yeah. No, and I mean, it's forced me to live very differently, and I wouldn't change one moment of, I have actually so much more fulfilling. I feel more on purpose. I feel I'm helping more people. I feel I'm helping myself. I just feel more centered, more creative, more grounded. And to be honest, if I hadn't suffered so much with my adrenal glands, I attempted to go back to work quite quickly. And one meeting with someone at work, and I had to come home and lie in bed for about 2 days. I mean, I was literally so burnt out. I mean, that is the level, because I could feel the stress of what would be required of me again. And I hadn't as yet learned enough about how to be in, in terms of my boundaries. And that was a whole journey I've had to go on. So, I think it's really important. If your body is telling you, no, I need rest, if we don't listen, we pay the price. And the body, it's doing it for us. It pays off in the long term, because I'm not, and it's not about all I've done, but it's actually the sense of, I suppose, quality rather than quantity. Like it's a very deeply fulfilling life now, and it's very connected, and I'm very connected myself. I'm very connected to others. Beautiful people have come into my life. So there's so many benefits from slowing down. As you said, we're not designed to live 1,000 miles an hour. And I always describe it as, I used to be skimming along the surface of life, and now I've dropped much more deeply. And living more deeply is so much more enriching. That is my experience.
Sounds to me like you're more aware, Celine. You're very aware of what's going on around you. You're very aware of where you're triggered. And look, we're human beings. We're still going to be triggered, but you're more aware of it, and you can catch it. And it's all through practice. and practicing it often and not beating ourselves up, because we're devils for beating ourselves up, aren't we? And I
Yeah,
still do it. Like I still
of
do it. But
course.
again,
Yeah,
it's about being aware and just grabbing it. But the minute you notice you're
yeah.
giving out to yourself or saying, putting yourself down, like
Mm,
stop it, because your body will respond to that, and your body will
yeah,
believe it, your brain will believe it. So stop
yeah.
telling yourself those things.
And
Can,
listen to the body, I would say as well. Listen to
yeah,
your body. Your body has an innate intelligence and it
yes,
only
it
wants
does.
to keep you well.
It
It's not
does.
doing this, it's always trying to come back into balance. And that's what I saw with cancer. I always say for me, cancer was just my body's way of expressing this energy that had been so suppressed so that it could come back into balance and so that I could become healthy again. And I am, because I changed. But, it did take, if I had come back living the way I had lived, no
Yeah.
doubt it would have come back again,
How did you
or
start your
something else.
How did you start your journey? Like, I mean, what did you do to, with this process? Obviously, you got your diagnosis, and what
Yeah,
practices did you start putting into play? Just for anybody who's
yeah,
in that position now, to give them a
well,
sense of empowerment,
yeah,
what they can do.
yeah. Well, the first thing I'll say is it did entail stopping. And then when I went through treatment and everything, and I knew I didn't really want to go back to what I was doing, and I didn't know what else am I going to do. What I will say is if you are open and you ask in whatever way you ask, the universe will provide always. That's
Yeah.
all I can say. We are connected to something greater, whatever you believe that is or isn't. So I suppose I was open and I was like, I can't go back. I want to do something different. And straight away I met someone I hadn't seen in 20 years. They introduced me to someone who was running a course called The Artist's Way. For
Oh,
anyone
yeah.
who hasn't, it may not be for everyone. Fabulous book by Julie Cameron. And it isn't just for artists or writers. It is for anyone who's interested in really connecting with themselves, getting to go on
Yeah.
that inner journey, to know what they're about, what they value, what they're interested in,
Oh,
inspires them, what lights them up. You're in a beautiful group. And it was a former teacher of mine. That I will be grateful to so the day I die, because
oh,
that started my journey. That started
I love that
my,
book.
yeah,
I have that book, and
phenomenal.
I
That
did
led
work
me to
with her.
write a book. That led me to write two
Wow.
books. That led me, to go on and do so many things and find community and find creativity, because creativity is key. Creativity is what we are and who we are. And unless we have the space within and allow ourselves that, we cannot access it. We cannot access it from a state of
Yeah.
stress.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just cannot. It's not possible. So yeah,
It,
yeah.
it's like I'm very moved for some
Mm-hmm.
reason when you were talking about that book, because it is a powerful book, The
Mm-hmm.
Artist's Way. It's a big thick book. I have it here somewhere, The
And
Artist's Way.
exercises and yeah,
Oh, all the journaling
yeah,
and everything, because when you
yeah.
said about
And the
creativity
two
again,
keys that even anyone may be doing separately outside of the book that were really life changing are, one is the journaling or the morning pages. So just for
yeah,
anyone who maybe wants to, this is very revealing. Getting up in the morning and before you do anything, get out of the bed, even I used to have it there beside me, just started sort of unconscious writing. So it's a
yeah,
way of write whatever, but it will start to reveal to you what's really going on in your subconscious and
you'll
what
see a pattern.
really, yeah,
You'll see a pattern. It is
yeah,
the best time to write and to journal,
yeah,
because your brain is still coming out of that theta wave or
yeah.
theta wave. They say it differently. They say theta in America and theta in Ireland. I think that's the way. I think I got that the right
Mm,
way around. But yeah, the brain is still, because the brain waves are still very slow, and you're able to access that subconscious a lot easier the
yeah.
minute you wake up. So that's why writing in the morning. That's why I did the morning papers. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that book, because it is a
Mm,
life changer. And then when you said about the creativity, it will help people to look at what's possible rather than looking at, oh, look what's happened to me, and looking at all the devastation, of the
mm,
experience or whatever. So the creativity, raising the vibration, helps people be in a higher vibration so that they can look at the
mm.
possibilities or what they can do to be empowered to help themselves. And that's a really big deal, and people can do that for themselves. It is possible. And you've
Yeah,
done it,
yeah,
Celine.
yeah. And I mean, I would have lived very much probably like in that victim mode, because we're sort of a bit, what would I say? The world we live in sort of encourages us almost to be a little bit powerless. So, let us blame ourselves. We're
Yeah,
sort of conditioned to do that, to always
that's
hand over
true.
our power to the doctor. It used to be the priest, to the teacher, to this, to
Yeah,
that. And I don't believe we're designed to live like that. And that is the journey of life, is to
I
remember
think
and
so. I think so.
recover your power. And the more people that took on, this isn't just sort of a power over people. This is an inner power and your creative power.
Powerful.
Yes,
Being powerful.
Exactly. And yeah, it's life changing, and it keeps refilling you. That's
And you know, things are going to unfold as we keep going through life and what have you. And it's just incredible. It is a journey, and I always tell people to gamify it, you know, turn it into a game and bring a bit of fun into it, you know. Celine, I have 2 young girls standing outside my door here. I have to go boating with them now in just a few minutes.
They're 2 powerful girls.
Actually recording. So this is this is the life of a mother and an entrepreneur. So I have to put my happy hat on. But before we go, Celine, tell us, just tell us very quickly how people work with you. You know, if somebody wants to reach out to you, what can you provide?
Well, primarily what I'm doing at the moment is around the podcast, where I allow for any women who want to maybe come on and share their story and connect and help others in that. That's a lot of the work that I'm doing. I also do some Reiki energetic work with clients as well. As I said, it's not on the same scale that I was, because I'm in a caring role as well now for my mother. So I would just say, reach out. You can do that through my website. Another way to follow me is I have a Substack, if anyone's heard of that. That's where I create all of my content, my podcast, my writing. And, you know, I sort of go with the flow. There's a lot of new sort of, I suppose, community and connections being made at this time. I think, as you said, so much is changing. So, yeah, anyone like to know more about what I do, I just say, make contact, and we'll see where we go from there.
Brilliant. And we're going to put all your links in the show notes as well. So you've got your website, you're on social media, and then the Substack, as you say. So we put all the links in the show notes as well. And Celine, you're also part of the 262 Women's Project as well. We just briefly throw that in there at the end as we're wrapping up. So we do have an event coming up on the 18th of August for anybody who, I will look out on my social media pages, and for people who want to attend, people who want to come along. So it's going to be a 2-day event. So there will be an Eventbrite link in the show notes as well for that. Do check that out. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, share it with your friends, and you can also leave a donation as well if you wish to do that. So that would be absolutely amazing. So Celine, before we wrap up, have you got any last empowering thoughts that you would like to share with the audience today?
Just really trust yourself. I think that there's no greater journey than the journey inwards. Listen to your heart, feel everything. I'm a big believer in, if you on the other side of all the pain, or everything that you feel in your life, there is such power and purpose and joy. So just give yourself that gift of feeling everything you feel in your life, because it is your power. It is your power. And it's changed everything for me, because that is the journey of life. It's the ups and the downs, but that's how we're designed to live. I really believe it in the moment, very much in flow, and just riding the waves and ups and downs, and it becomes a really exciting adventure when you can start to look at it like that. It doesn't mean it won't be different times, but you will have what you need to get through it.
And you keep growing. Keep growing keep
growing. That is the journey. That is the journey for sure.
Beautiful.
And then sharing with others, you know, because that's how we impact others. I think when we do the work on ourselves,
it does, and that's what we're doing here. That's what these podcasts are all about. And your podcast, Wild Woman.
I might change it about. It's
no, I like that.
It is Wild Woman, because
you do have to be courageous and a bit
it's brave, and it's everything, you know. That's it. So check that out as well. I'll give you the links for that.
Brilliant. They'll all be in the show notes in any case. So I'm going to put my mummy hat on and go and bring these girls down to their dragon boats. They do dragon boats 3 times a week, so I'm a busy mother.
You are.
So I was in the women's club last year, but I came over anyway for other reasons. But anyway, Celine, it's been a pleasure. It really has. Thank you for sharing all about your journey and, you know, opening up and being vulnerable, and because it wasn't an easy ride, but, you know, you're here to share that experience and to empower other people as well through their journeys. So thank you so much, Celine, and have an amazing day.
You too. Thanks, Joanne.
I do hope you are enjoying these conversations, and to help me continue putting these videos and audio podcasts together, I do have an ask. I do need support to help me to keep bringing you knowledge and insights. There is a Patreon link, patreon.com/empowering family health, or you can make a donation via PayPal. All the links are in the description and the pinned comment. You can do a one-off, or you can do a monthly support. So I'd really appreciate that. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Take care.